The following program may contain coarse language, violence, nudity, mature subject matter, or scenes which may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send us an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. And we're coming to you tonight on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, Xzone Broadcast Network, and of course, Channel 34 on Simul TV. Our guest this hour is MARGO LENMARK, and we're going to be talking to MARGO about her expertise is meditation, precognition, receiving messages from those who have died. So why don't we bring MARGO on and start this very interesting discussion. Hey, MARGO, how are you?
I'm fine, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, thank you. Thanks very much for joining us tonight. So tell our listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm actually a realtor. I've been in North Carolina selling real estate for quite a few years. I'm also a meditation teacher. I've lived around the world teaching transcendental meditation. I'm a minister. I marry people mainly. I coach people. I'm a public speaker, and I'm an author. I wrote a book about death, basically, life and death. And the book is called Light in the Mourning, Memoirs of an Undertaker's Daughter.
You've done quite a bit. I understand that you were also a manager of a band for 12 years.
Yes, I managed a rock band, which was really fun.
Daughter of an undertaker.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like?
Very interesting. I think death is really comfortable for me. It's a funny way to say it, but I'm comfortable around death because I grew up with it. Mm-hmm. When I was a child, we'd always meet at the funeral home to get a ride home or whatever. I spent a lot of time. We didn't live in the funeral home, but I spent a lot of time in the funeral home. So I've been around death a lot, and I'm very comfortable with the subject. And maybe that's why I wrote the book. I'm not sure.
So let's talk a little bit about your book. Tell us about it. Light in the Mourning, Memoirs of an Undertaker's Daughter.
Yes. People that have been very close to me who have died have come back to me with very clear messages about life. Mm-hmm. And it's happened quite a bit in my life. I've had a lot of death in my life. And somebody said I should write these stories because they thought it would help people with their grief. And I think it actually has. So I feel like, when these people came back to me with these really important messages, it really changed how I live my life. And isn't that kind of what we want, is for people to come back to us and tell us what it's really all about, So
what do the people who come back tell you about death, dying, and what happens after we die?
They don't actually tell me about the death itself, but they come back with some message. Each one of them has brought me a very clear message. And the message has to do, Rob, with your life with that person. For example, I'll just give you an example of that. My mother and I had a very rocky relationship. We fought like cats and dogs. And so naturally, the message that she would bring to me would be about resolve. It would be about our relationship. It wouldn't be about the stock market or something.
Sure. Okay.
So these messages have to do with our life with that person, with my life with that person.
How did you get started? When did you start receiving these messages?
It's an interesting question. I started having a lot of precognitive type of experiences when I was young. And I don't even remember when, as long as I can remember, maybe 6, 7, 8, 10, I'm not sure. But when I was very young, I would have these precognitions. And a precognition is seeing something before it happens. And then a minute later it happens, or a couple of minutes later it happens. So I had a lot of that, and I had a lot of deep intuitive experiences. My friends used to come to me when I was, I don't know, 10, I don't know how old I was, with problems. And after a little while, after they'd be telling me about it, I would see what was going on. I could see exactly what was happening with their mother or whatever. And I'd tell them, and they'd run home being very excited because they figured out their problem. So I've been doing it my whole life. I've had a lot of real deeply intuitive experiences. It hasn't been until later that people started coming to me, because nobody died when I was younger. So it was when I started getting older that I really started to have these people come back to me and tell me something about life, give me some deep message.
What was it? What was it like the first time you realized that the person that you were getting these messages from were no longer on this plane, that they had passed on?
Well, I knew that they had passed on because they had died, but it was very interesting. I'm trying to think the first message that I got. They come in different ways. Some of them come in dreams. A lot of them come in dreams. The message when I saw my brother after he died, we went on this shamanic journey to find him. So messages come in different ways, but it was pretty natural to me. It wasn't a surprise, because when they come to you, like, for example, in a dream, they are literally there. Their body isn't there, but they're there exactly as they were in real life, except without their body. So you have no doubt about it.
You said that you went looking for your brother in a shamanic trance or quest. Tell me about that.
I think it's the most interesting chapter in my book.
Okay.
My brother and I were very close, very close. If there's a twin soul or whatever you call that on the planet, he and I were. We were like soulmates. So when he died, he really took a part of me with him.
Right.
And he kept coming to me in dreams every night to tell me he hadn't died. Every night he'd come to me in a different dream to tell me he hadn't died. And finally, when I realized that, I decided I should tell him. So one night I was sitting on my bed and I was crying, and I told him that he was gone. That he felt like he was still here, but his body was gone. We buried it, cremated him. He's gone. And after that, he never came back again. So I have a friend who is kind of, she doesn't like me to call her a shaman, but she took me on this shamanic journey to find him, because when he stopped coming to me, I was really wanting to just find out what had happened. So she took me on this journey, and it's like a meditation. And partway through the journey, she had me stop and look across this meadow and asked me if my brother was there, and he was. And it was the most incredible experience, I would say, of my life, to experience someone on the other side when you're on this side, and you consciously find him and you have this conversation with him. It was so moving and so incredible. And we talked for a long time. It was a very interesting time with him. I would have stayed forever. I would have actually just stayed forever if I could have. But then my friend took me out of that shamanic space and had me bring him into the light. I took his hand. We walked across this, up these stairs, and we saw this light, and she had me walk him into the light, and I did. And then she had me let go of his hand, and I did. And he just kept walking into the light. And it was very emotional. I get really emotional talking about it.
I imagine so, because going into the light, has he come back? Has there been any communication since?
Yeah, there has. At that point, he really did stop coming to me for a long time, because he was coming every night. And
right.
About a year later, and it was right around the anniversary of his death, he came to me in a dream. And I was really happy to see him. It's just a joy beyond words to connect with somebody from the other side. And he gave me a very interesting message. And the message with my brother from my brother was that it really doesn't matter who you're with. It matters how you're being with whoever you are with. And that was a really interesting message to me. It's sort of like love the one you're with,
Right.
it's that message. It was almost disappointing to me because my question to him was, when do I get to see you again? I want to see you again, because I had such an attachment to him. And that message from him put me in a space where I really feel 100% with the person that I'm with, like you right now. I'm right here with you. You know what I
Yes, you
mean?
are.
It's like all these people come before your lens, and his message was just to be fully present, totally with whoever you're with. And it was a beautiful message, of course. It was different than I expected. I wanted to hear that I'd see him soon, or he'd be back or something, but it was really moving.
Margo, stand by. We've got to take a break here. In Exonation, Margo Lenmark is our guest. She's the author of Light in the Mourning, Memoirs of an Undertaker's Daughter, and we'll both be back after this break. Whatever you do, don't go away.
Question: what is the name of the unique blend of coffee you get that has been formulated by a neurologist, a neurobiologist, and a pharmaceutical chemist? Answer: you get Beautiful Mind Coffee, a unique coffee blend that tastes great and has herbal ingredients that your brain will love, and it is not just coffee, it's brainalicious. Dr. Rathbone, Dr. Jang, and Dr. Winslow, the scientific team that created Beautiful Mind Coffee, decided to collaborate on a coffee focusing on brain health. As for those herbal ingredients found in Beautiful Mind Coffee, Dr. Rathbone, Dr. Jang, and Dr. Winslow, utilizing their combined extensive scientific research background, worked with many natural and herbal products until the exact formulation that is found in Beautiful Mind Coffee was created. With a unique scientific formula not found in any other coffee being sold or served, Beautiful Mind Coffee is the only coffee blend that contains 3 herbal ingredients found to aid in boosting your daily mental clarity and focus. Every cup of Beautiful Mind Coffee contains scientifically formulated amounts of maca root powder, green tea extract, and American ginseng, all supporting good brain health. Taking care of your brain's health now can help delay or prevent the onset of cognitive dysfunction, including dementia, Alzheimer's, and more general memory loss as you get older, just by enjoying the delicious flavor of our roasted coffee and herbal ingredients found exclusively in Beautiful Mind Coffee. Did you know that cognitive dysfunction also refers to deficits in attention, verbal and non-verbal learning, short-term and working memory, visual and auditory processing, problem-solving, processing speed, and motor functioning? For more on Beautiful Mind Coffee, the 3 scientists who formulated Beautiful Mind Coffee, and more details on the 3 unique herbal ingredients in Beautiful Mind Coffee, visit www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca. Beautiful Mind Coffee is now available online at amazon.ca and amazon.com. To order Beautiful Mind Coffee, visit www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca today.
Welcome back, everyone. Members of the Exonation, I need your help. There is a little dog that is palliative that is being threatened to be evicted by the board of directors of the condominium where the little dog lives with her parents. The dog is 14 years old, It has heart condition. It is, it's been with the family since day one. It originally was born in a puppy mill, and the family has done everything they can over the years to make this little fur baby comfortable and loved. What happened was the family lived in a bigger house. They downsized, found the condo. The real estate agent said, yes, you can have pets, which is plural. The superintendent knew about the 3 little girls that were moving into the condo. Just to find out that a month after they were there, they received a letter from the board of directors saying that only 1 dog's allowed. Working with one of the members of the board of directors, they've been able to get the dogs to remain to this point. One of the dogs, Maddie, 18 years old, passed away 2 months ago, old age. But now the board is directing their decision to have Nikita removed. And it's pissing me off, you know. And I'll tell you why. It's my dog. This is happening to me. What I'd like you to do is go to www.savenikita, that's SAVENAKITA.ca. Read the story. And all we're asking is, tell us what you think. We're not asking for any money. We're not asking anything. Stories like this are happening across Canada, and I don't know about the United States. But it seems that we, the people, are losing our power. We're not allowed to make the right choices, the right decisions. So please, do me a favor. Just go to www.savenikita.ca and tell us what you think. And thank you for your time. And Margo, thank you very much for letting me get that in.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I'm a realtor, and your dog should be grandfathered in. They can't change the rule. They can change it after your dog is gone, but they can't change that rule. Why? You can't do that.
Well, what has happened now is today my wife went to her doctor, and her doctor gave her a certificate or a letter stating that, hey, this my wife has a condition, and that right. my wife's doctor said, I support her decision in having these 2 dogs to help with her condition.
So a service animal.
Yeah, ESA. However, the board of directors, I should say the president of the board of directors, is a very strange individual. And she allows certain things for certain people and other. Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because there's a board meeting tomorrow morning, and the letter is being presented to the board, the doctor's certificate. And even though if she doesn't accept it, she's breaking the law.
I was just going to say, I'd call a lawyer. I'd send a letter to her.
Well, yeah. Well, they sent us a registered letter, and they have the lawyer charged us $750 for writing the letter on behalf of the board.
What?
Yeah. Okay. The board of directors gave us so long for the dogs. We received a registered letter last week giving us until November the 5th to evict one of the dogs. And the one that they're pointing to is Nikita. In that letter, we were told that we were being charged on our condo account $750 for that letter.
That is nuts. No.
Welcome to Ontario.
Oh, for sure. I'll try. My partner's a lawyer. I would have him I would get somebody to write a letter and charge it to the board. That's crazy. That's wrong. That is wrong.
Well, we do know, and I'm sorry to take time away from our topic. I do know that according to the Ontario Human Rights Act, that this letter is law, and that the dogs when it comes to the doctor's letter and the emotional service animal, they just can't arbitrarily say no.
Okay, good.
So I'll let you know how it happens.
Yeah, definitely.
But once again, thank you for allowing me to discuss this with you and
Welcome.
to get the message out there.
I'm going to go to Save Nikita, and I'm going to voice my opinion.
Thank you so much.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. The funny part is, and I'll just wrap this up, is I stayed totally in the background of this entire thing because of my position in the media.
Mm-hmm.
And the reporter, when she wrote the story, put my name in the story. So I figured it's out there now.
Oh yeah, it's out there now. Speak up, and we're all going to speak up for you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. You're welcome.
What is your favorite chapter in your book? Was it the chapter on your brother and the communication and how you were able to help? Well, let me ask you this. What was it like knowing that you were the person who brought your brother, who you loved so dearly, and brought him into the light, giving him everlasting peace?
Oh my God. It was like nothing else I have ever experienced on this planet. And I've had a lot of experiences and a lot of deep experiences, but there was nothing like that. Wow. It was, I think, it was an honor, obviously.
Yes.
It was emotional, like you can't believe. I think I spent the next 24 hours crying.
Oh, gosh.
You know, I just, it was so emotional. But it changed me. It just changed me so much.
How did it change you?
You cannot convince me that the soul doesn't live on.
Right.
No, I always thought it did. But, we never know. We don't really know until we move on, I guess. But you don't die. And I can tell you for sure, you don't die. Because I was on the other side with my brother, and my shamanic friend said that he was waiting for me because he wanted to say goodbye.
Oh, wow.
And that's why he was coming to me every night, and he didn't cross over because he had one last thing to do, and that is say goodbye to me, And so it was really something. I can't even describe it to you.
What about during the COVID time? A lot of people died. A lot of families could not say goodbye, get the closure. How does this affect those on the other side?
Well, I think those on the other side are fine always. Okay. I do. I don't think they're looking back. They will. I do believe they're there to help us and things like that. But those on the other side, I think, are fine. It's us it's our side that's having a hard time. And I believe it's always that way. I really believe when this soul goes into the light, when it is there, it is glorious beyond words. And that person isn't thinking back and having regrets or thinking back to you. They are moving on in such a big, 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 beautiful, glorious way. So they're fine, but we aren't. And no. I'm telling you, Rob, when my brother died, I needed my book. I was searching for something. I needed something so badly to read, to understand. I needed to know something so badly. And that's why I wrote the book. And go ahead.
And thank God you did.
Yeah, it's helped a lot of people. People have found me online and tracked me down, and I've really helped a lot of people grieve, and it's been a wonderful experience.
Something that very many people don't know is that grief just doesn't happen when somebody passes away. Grief happens when there's a major change in your life. For example, you lose your job. There is a personal relationship in your life that goes sour. Grief comes in so many forms, and it seems that we're willing to cope with those kind of griefs, but when it comes to the loss of someone, that's the hardest grief we deal with.
It is. It is definitely the hardest grief because it is so final, and there's nothing you can do about it. You might be able to get that relationship back. You might be able to get your job back. You might find a better, but this is different. It's a totally different thing when it comes to life and death of the body.
I'm going to ask you a question here, and I hope you don't get offended by it. Do you have children?
I don't.
Okay. The reason I asked you that is because I was going to ask, and I'm still going to ask the same question, but I was going to phrase it differently.
Mm-hmm.
As a medium, when somebody comes to you to communicate with a child on the other side, how does that affect you?
I don't know. I haven't communicated with a child.
Wow.
And
Okay.
it's funny that you say that. I've got a lot to say about that. Okay. But
Okay.
I'm just going to start by saying I don't consider myself a medium, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I consider a medium somebody who can, you tell me to go talk to your dog. You tell me to go find your son.
Mhm.
I can't do that. These people came to me. So I think there's a difference. I have talked to animals consciously from my side, and I brought them in and talked to them. But other than if you asked me to go find your brother or something, I couldn't do that. So I just want to say that.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
How do those on the other side know that they can communicate with you and that you have the gift? Like you're a conduit
I
from
know.
one side to the other. And how do they know that?
I don't know. I don't know, but they do find me. It's so interesting because I know why people come to me, because I'm wide open and they apparently know it. I think on the other side, you see differently. I think you see the body, the earth and everything. I think it looks pretty different. I think it's more energetic.
Right.
You know, we look so physical. Everything is so physical.
Right.
But I think I'm just trying to answer your question. This is what I think is that energy is a totally different thing. And on an energetic level, you're attracted here. You're going to go talk to that person. They're open or whatever. And I think the souls must know that, because these people certainly did. They came to me. We had a very clear connection, clear message. It was exactly like they were sitting right there with me, except their body wasn't there. There's no difference except for that. So it's really interesting. And there's no words. When these messages come and when people talk to you, it's cognitive. You know, and cognitive is like, it's seeing as if you're seeing with your eyes, but you're not seeing with your eyes. But you're seeing exactly the same way, except it's not physical eyes and it's not a physical body. But other than that, it's all the same.
Wow.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting.
How many chapters are there in your book?
I don't know. Maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
I have to look. 10 maybe?
Okay.
8? I don't know.
And what are some of the other chapters that you've written about?
I've written about my mother. I've written about my father, my brother. They're all people close to me. My aunt, an ex-boyfriend, a really close friend, my dog. I'll tell you something really interesting. I say in my book that when somebody dies, you can see their life and their death in their face in death. And that's really interesting because my father's chapter is about that. My mother died first. And when my mother died, she had been an alcoholic. We'd had a really rough relationship, good and bad. I mean, it was also really good. But when I looked at her face in death, I saw the deep pain in her. I saw all of just how difficult her life was on a very emotional level. So when my dad died, I really wanted to see his face because I saw my mom's life in her face in death. Well, my dad's was, I don't know how much time we have before we have to take a break. Should I tell you that story now? It's a little bit of a story, but do we have a few more minutes?
Why don't we hang on until we get back from this break? Okay. And once again, I appreciate you coming on the show tonight, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to tell our listeners and viewers about Nikita. Exo Nation, my guest this hour, MARGO LENMARK. She is the author of Light in the Morning, Memoirs of an Undertaker's Daughter. And Margo and I will be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. And welcome back, one and all. Our guest this hour is Margo Lenmark. She's the author of Light in the Morning. And her website is www.lightinthemorning.com. And Margo was in Boone, North Carolina.
Yes.
Thanks very much for being on the show tonight. And I love the fact that your book is helping people.
Me too.
Helping people. This is what the world should be.
Right? Oh, Rob.
So
that's another whole show, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we're definitely going to have you back on. There's no two ways about that. Even if we have to kidnap you to do it. Okay. Oh, Craig is telling me that we stopped doing that a few years ago. Okay, thanks, Craig. I'm sorry?
Do you know what? On Facebook, I had a piece of art, an art show, and it won. And
wow.
And it was, I had painted a cat, my friend's cat. And so I had it hanging in my house after the art show. On Facebook, I said, Chris, I've kidnapped your cat. You can come and get it anytime you want. I got this big red letter message from Facebook saying, this is very dangerous. And so I think I'm on some list. I'm on a kidnapper's list. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm on a list.
Oh my heavens.
Oh my God.
We
so you can kidnap me.
All right. We were going to talk about your dad's passing before we went to the break.
Yeah. The thing about my dad's death was so interesting. It's quite a long story, and I'm trying to think of how to shorten it, for this show real quickly here. He was the undertaker, and he was meant to be in that position because he was so compassionate and wonderful. People loved him, and he loved people, and he really helped people. He was really a deeply spiritual guy. And people would call him a saint, and I called him a saint. He was just like this incredible person. He had a very difficult life. I mean, lots of challenges in his life, just lots of unusual things. And so when he died, I will never forget walking into the funeral home to see him. You know, I was walking down this long room, and you know, I've been around thousands of dead bodies, but when I walked into the room to see my dad, there was this kind of aura about the room. It just felt incredible, and it was a long room, and he was about my height, you know. So I asked the funeral director if he'd put a chair up there so I could get on the chair so I could see my dad. I couldn't wait to see his face.
Right.
Well, I walk up there and I get in the chair and I look down, and the tears of joy. I'm like, Dad, yes, yes. And I don't know what this funeral director thought of me, but what I saw in his face in death, I have never seen, ever.
What was that, hon?
I saw the most beatific look I've ever seen in a face, ever. It was holy. And he had all of this light around his head. And it was about 12 inches out, just like what you see, you know, when you see pictures of saints with that aura,
Yes. Yeah.
that halo. He
Yeah.
had that coming out from his body. I was with my boyfriend at the time, who was a director of photography in the movie industry. So he's a lighting expert. He came up and he goes, look at that light. And he was trying to feel it. We were both trying to feel if the light felt different. We could see it. And his face was so beatific. And I saw all of the choices he made in his life add up to that moment of his death. And I realized the message that I got from my dad was this: at every given moment, we have the choice to love open-heartedly or not. And when we get to the end of our life, it's all going to add up to the choices we made at every given moment.
Wow.
It was really powerful. And from that moment on, no matter what I feel, I just stretch my heart open and I keep it open no matter what. If only everybody on this planet would do that.
Yes, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
One of the chapters in your book that with the material you sent us is you have a chapter about a miracle that happened.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Oh my God. Okay, my good friend died.
Mhm.
And after he died, you know, 5 days later, we had a funeral, and then a really wise person that we knew said that you really should do the funeral 10 days after the person has died, because that person will be more present at the funeral. We'd already done the funeral, so we decided to have a party for Tom. So we went to Tom's girlfriend's house, and there was a table of 12 in the dining room, and there's a table of 5 in the kitchen. And it was really amazing because you could feel Tom there. You could just feel it. And so I knew Tom really well. And so we were telling Tom stories all night at dinner. At the end of dinner, Anne comes up, his girlfriend, and she puts down 17 plates, little dessert plates, and she brings in this pie. She said, Deborah brought pie. And it was this little pie plate. I don't know what it looks like on the screen, but little pie plate, you know.
Right.
It was a apple crumbly pie. So you could only get 6 pieces cut because it was so big and crumbly.
Right.
So there's a pie with 6 pieces in it, and there's 17 plates and 17 people. And immediately when she puts the pie down, all of us at the table of 12, we go, I'm not having pie. I'm not having pie. We're not having pie. The people in the kitchen are going to have pie because there's only 6 pieces in there.
Sure.
So my friend Deborah and I are cutting the pie. You know, we're cutting the pie, putting it on the plate, passing it on, cutting the pie, putting it on the plate, passing it on. We're doing this while we're talking. And, you know, we're telling Tom stories, and we're passing the pie and everything. And we're just, you know, just telling so many stories. And all of a sudden we hear somebody in the kitchen go, we all got pie. And it brought us back to the pie, and everybody at our table had pie. And there's a great big piece of pie, like almost a half a pie plate, still in the pan. And Deborah and I cut it in half, and we each had a piece of pie. And we both went, loaves and fishes.
Exactly.
It served 17 people. We were just blown away, just completely blown away. And somebody said, Margo, tell us this one story about Tom. And I start telling this story, and I just put my hands in my head. I said, wait a minute. Do you guys realize we all got pie? Do you realize? I held up the thing. I said, we all got pie.
Wow.
And somebody from the kitchen came in and said, wow, that's a miracle pie. It was just a miracle. And that night I called my friend Deborah, and I left a message on her machine. I said, Deborah, I'm still trying to figure out where the pie came from. Did we cut a piece and it grew back? Did the whole pie empty out and the whole pie came back? Where did the pie come from? It was really phenomenal. It was phenomenal. And now I realize how miracles happen, and they happen when you're not looking, when you're not.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's another part to this story. Tom was right up here. I could see him, and he was taking this white stuff. It was kind of like clouds, but heavier. It had a little more thickness to it. You could throw it up and you could see it, and it would, fall down again. Mm-hmm. And he just had infinite number of this amount of this white stuff, and he was just throwing it around, as if to say, there's plenty. And he was doing that right after we realized the miracle pie. And so I realized in that moment, that was my message from Tom, is that there is plenty, and there's always plenty. There's always plenty. He was on the other side throwing this stuff around, and he proved it with the pie, which was really interesting. So I've never forgotten that. And we're all worried about money. We're always worried about money, I think. Yeah. I never worried about it. I didn't just start spending it like that, but I'd never worried about it. Deep inside from that experience, I knew that there was plenty, that we're never going to run out. And that sticks with me, so it changed me in that way. Interesting.
Fascinating story.
Mm-hmm.
You and I have to take our final break. Please stand by.
Okay.
And Exo Nation, Margo Lenmark is our special guest. Fascinating lady. Her website is, are you ready for this? Got your pens and pen? Okay. lightinthemorning.com, and she's the author of Light in the Morning, Memoirs of an Undertaker's Daughter. We'll be back after this break as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone. Don't go away.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com.
simultv.com.
And we're back. Margo Lenmark is our guest. She's the author of Light in the Morning. Her website is www.lightinthemorning.com. First of all, Margo, thank you so much for coming on the show, and thank you for writing your book.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you for having me.
It's a great pleasure. Are there any key takeaway messages or assurances that you'd like to share with our listeners as we get ready to say so long for this edition?
Yes, there's a couple things. One key message is, I said earlier, that people don't die.
Right.
And I can assure you they don't, since I've had so many communications with them afterward. The other key message is a message I got from my mother. And it's probably the most important message in the book, and that is to not live with regret. And the way you don't live with regret is you resolve everything. You resolve everything. I will, if right now, if I had something to resolve with somebody, I'd drive to their house. It's 11 o'clock. I would drive to their house. I'd knock on their door and say, listen, I think you misunderstood me. And ever since I got that message from my mother, I have done that. And I'm telling you, I feel clean. I feel clear inside because there's nothing hanging out there with anybody. And I think that is so important because if we don't resolve it now before that person dies, we can't. We can. Time takes care of everything, I'm sure, the whole thing. But it will haunt you after that person's gone. And so I just think that's a huge message, is to not live with regret and resolve everything so that you have no regrets when the person's gone.
If there are regrets after the person is gone and when you go, is it possible to meet up with this person on the other side and resolve the differences?
Yes. And I also believe that person that moves on, I think there's automatic forgiveness in that gloriousness that they're feeling. You know how when you feel really fantastic, you think you were mad at somebody, then something makes you feel so good.
Yeah.
You go, oh, it's okay. It's all right.
Right.
I think that's what happens. And we are left with it. That's why that regret is for the living. I don't believe it's for that person that moves on. I think they're fine.
Great words from a great lady. Again, thank you so much for writing your book. Let our listeners know where they can buy a copy of it.
You can go to Amazon, Amazon.com, or my website, lightinthemorning.com, and you can order it there too. It'll link you to Amazon, but
we'll have to have you back on because there's still so many more questions I have for you. But thank you for your time tonight. And again, thanks for writing your book.
Thank you, Rob.
All right. Exo Nation, Margo Lenmark has been our guest this hour. And we've been talking about Margo's book entitled Light in the Morning. Her website is www.lightinthemorning. Now, morning is spelled MOURNING. That's Light in the Morning, not MORING. MOURNING, as if a person is mourning. So that's lightinthemorning.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And please remember, if you have the time, visit savenikita.ca.
Question: what is the name of the unique blend of coffee you get that has been formulated by a neurologist, a neurobiologist, and a pharmaceutical chemist? Answer: you get Beautiful Mind Coffee, a unique coffee blend that tastes great and has herbal ingredients that your brain will love, and it is not just coffee, it's brainalicious. Dr. Rathbone, Dr. Jang, and Dr. Winslow, the scientific team that created Beautiful Mind Coffee, decided to collaborate on a coffee focusing on brain health. As for those herbal ingredients found in Beautiful Mind Coffee, Dr. Rathbone, Dr. Jang, and Dr. Winslow, utilizing their combined extensive scientific research background, worked with many natural and herbal products until the exact formulation that is found in Beautiful Mind Coffee was created. With a unique scientific formula not found in any other coffee being sold or served, Beautiful Mind Coffee is the only coffee blend that contains 3 herbal ingredients found to aid in boosting your daily mental clarity and focus. Every cup of Beautiful Mind Coffee contains scientifically formulated amounts of maca root powder, green tea extract, and American ginseng, all supporting good brain health. Taking care of your brain's health now can help delay or prevent the onset of cognitive dysfunction, including dementia, Alzheimer's, and more general memory loss as you get older, just by enjoying the delicious flavor of our roasted coffee and herbal ingredients found exclusively in Beautiful Mind Coffee. Did you know that cognitive dysfunction also refers to deficits in attention, verbal and non-verbal learning, short-term and working memory, visual and auditory processing, problem-solving, processing speed, and motor functioning? For more on Beautiful Mind Coffee, the 3 scientists who formulated Beautiful Mind Coffee, and more details on the 3 unique herbal ingredients in Beautiful Mind Coffee, visit www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca. Beautiful Mind Coffee is now available online at amazon.ca and amazon.com. To order Beautiful Mind Coffee, visit www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca today.